Hello there, and welcome back to the Fracking Farmhouse, where we're pleased to report, Oscar and I, that the government has been found to have acted unlawfully in the High Courts. Ooh. Now, one of the great things about the anti-fracking community is there's people everywhere doing stuff and you don't even know about it. And there's people organising petitions, organising meetings, marches, direct action, writing to the papers, making videos with cats in, all sorts of things. But Joe Corry, with Talk Fracking, took the government to court over this thing, the National Planning Policy Framework. Okay, this gets a bit technical, but I think it helps if you understand. So the National Planning Policy Framework, and this is the one that's been around since 2012, is what the government writes. It's a document that local government are supposed to use when they're working out their planning system. So like all planning applications get referred to, in our case, the Minerals Local Plan, and the local councils write their plans to make their decisions by. Okay, it's a bit complicated, but you think if you're in an industrial area, you might say, it's really good to build factories here, or if you're in a tourism area, you might say it's really good to build hotels here, that sort of thing. But the National Planning Policy Framework is it's a generic thing to give guidelines into all sorts of things that cover. And what it used to cover many things. What it used to say about onshore oil and gas extraction, paragraph 147, this is the old NPPF, and it said, when planning for onshore oil and gas development, including unconventional hydrocarbons, that's fracking, clearly distinguishing between the three phases of development, exploration, appraisal and production, and address constraints on production and processing within areas that are licensed for oil and gas exploration or production. So that's pretty neutral anyway. And then last year, on the last day of term, the last day of Parliament in July 2018, they released a new National Planning Policy Framework, revised and mostly the same. But curiously, in the section oil and gas exploration, oil, gas and coal, minerals planning authorities should recognise the benefits of onshore oil and gas development, including unconventional hydrocarbons, fracking, for the security of energy supplies and supporting the transition to a low carbon economy, and put in place policies to facilitate their exploration and extraction. And I remember reading that and thinking, what? The transition to a low carbon economy. There's nothing much higher carbon than fracking because of all the methane it leaks and because of all the infrastructure you've got to build and all the energy it takes to get this fossil fuel out of the ground. I read that and went, oh, that's rubbish. Joe Corry read that and went, oh, I'm going to take him to court. And he did, and he went to the High Court, and the judge decided that, yeah, you can't say that. You can't say that that it supports the transition to a low carbon economy. And furthermore, that you really should take the science into account, and you should take climate change into account when you're doing these things. And the government acted unlawfully by not having a proper consultation on that, and by basically writing rubbish and expecting us to swallow it. And this is a fantastic bit of news for all of us, because one, it shows the benefits of an independent judiciary. Why did they put that in? Why did they put that in? Because fracking's bad news for everyone, apart from the few companies that want to do it and want to make a load of money out of it. So it's obviously, and what happens is most of these documents, they don't get written by politicians. You had enough, Oscar? Yeah. They don't get written by politicians, they get written by civil servants. Now, we know at the moment that all the civil servants in Whitehall are tied up with Brexit, and they're not doing any work. But what the fossil fuel companies have done is they put interns into Whitehall. So they've got these young, keen people thrusting in the fossil fuel industry, and they're in Whitehall and they're writing this sort of stuff. So that sentence was slipped in there because when it comes to the next planning application, you'll get Mr. Steele for INEOS, and he'll say, it's got to be, it supports the transition to low carbon economy, and we've got to do the benefits. But now, if he says that, we'll be able to say, liar, liar, your pants on fire. You can't say that, it's unlawful. So thank you very much to Joe Corrie for pointing out the bias of the government towards the fossil fuel industry, for getting an independent High Court judge to say, no government, you're rubbish, you've got to go back, and you've got to consult, and you've got to take science into account. And now the science is coming out, it's overwhelming. Fracking is really bad news for a carbon neutral economy. You can't be carbon neutral if you're fracking. We've got to stop it now. And this is yet another nail in the coffin of the frackers. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening to that. And a little cheery one there, because we're optimistic in the Fracking Farmhouse. We think fracking's a dead duck. Cheers. Bye-bye. Right, Oscar.